The Survivor Specialists are back, and today we are digging deeper into episode number 10 of Survivor 49. Blake is not here. Blake is taking Thanksgiving off. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. But Blake is taking it off. There was no way that he was waking up at 8:30 in the morning on his day off to do this. But I am joined by Ollie from the Survivor Now podcast, who is coming live from the UK right now. And I'll tell you what, get ready for International Week because we got Ollie today and we got Omer on Sunday to avoid anybody who gets a little bit of a Thanksgiving hangover. That's for sure. Ollie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, it's 4:30 in the afternoon for me, so it was perfect. And then, yeah, like you said, Thanksgiving, don't know anything about her. So I'm like, I can happily come on and jump on. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrates it, obviously. I hope you're all having a fabulous time. But yeah, no, I'm happy to talk anything Survivor. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and I'll just do this for all of our American listeners. 4:30 is 4:30, by the way, just so everybody knows, because there's no way we're gonna be getting that. What the hell is a 4:30? Yeah, 4:30. No, it's fun. I used to work for an international film sales company, and so we would obviously talk to a lot of UK people, and like it would be so funny how the English language, it's the same language, but the way things are said, you're just like, whoa. If I was born 6,000 miles one way, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah. To be fair, the amount of times I keep doing that, and then I'll have people look at me and I'll go, hold on, let me Americanize it. Yeah. I'm like, 4:30.
There you go. But so what do you think of last night's episode?
Do you know what? I thought, like, overall, it was really good. I mean, I feel like everyone has kind of been like, this season's quite slow. We're getting kind of like, we're slowly getting there. I do feel like we hit a really nice peak this episode. I feel like if anyone's kind of sat there being like, oh, it was boring, oh, it was predictable, love yous, shut up. Because there was actually a lot of suspense and like actually like decent editing where I was like, no, it was a good episode. Like, I was shocked. Like, I was sat there going, wait, is someone else going to be blindsided last minute? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was quite excited. What did you think about it?
That was great. I mean, I think that this season really has found its stride since the Matt boot. I know that Jason going home wasn't exciting, but I feel like that episode was very good because of the Shannon Sage setup. And so Jason going home was whatever, but it was pretty much 2 episodes of Shannon versus Sage. Shannon goes home. That's a very good episode. And I feel like since then it's been cooking. Like I feel like the Nate boot was exciting. I feel like the MC split tribal, even though I never want to see split tribals in the post-merge, I thought it was a good episode. I feel like what we saw last night was, like you said, probably the peak. And I think Will's been talking about it a lot on the podcast of if we didn't know who was on 50,
yes,
we would be loving this season probably so much more because there is a true unknown every time you step foot into tribal council. The problem is a lot of times the alternative boot has been either Rizo or Savannah. And as people who are, look, even if we didn't actively seek this stuff out, which I mean, once 50 was announced, I was like, who are the 49 people I want to know? But even if we didn't actively seek it out, I do this podcast, I'm going to get comments. I'm going to look in the chat. People are going to be saying, and I can't play dumb for that long. So knowing that has hurt. Yeah. But I do think we've officially hit the point, especially since Tiffany is on season 50 as an 8th place finisher. I think we've hit the point where Rizo and Savannah are truly in danger when they step foot at tribal. So last night I said, it feels like it's going to be 5-4 no matter what. It feels like Savannah and Rizzo's side is going to come out on top. But I wanted to know how many advantages were going to be needed to be played and who was going to be the alternative. Because part of me thought it was going to be Sage. But I guess they felt Jawan was actually a bigger threat to win the game.
Well, that was the interesting thing. And first of all, I agree with you on the 50 thing because I do feel like that has spoiled the season. And I don't blame the castaways at all. So sorry, production. That's all on you. And you lot have got to deal with that one. I like the fact that we did have kind of an arc when it came to who the other boot was going to be. Because it started off as Steven. Everyone was going for Steven. I was sat there being like, no, Steven's on my draft. Let's not do that. Yeah. And then it got to kind of, obviously, the challenge and everything. And then Sage and Jawan's name came up more so Sage. You saw really Savannah doing a great job at being like, no, Sage is the person. And then it kind of came into Tribal Council. And we had 3 options. We had, it could be Steven, it could be Sage, it could be Jawan. And I mean, because we had Sophie S being like Steven. We had Savannah going Sage. People kind of mentioned Jawan, but didn't really go for it. So naturally, we were all kind of sat there going, Well, Sage and Steven have had more name of themselves being thrown out. So I feel like Jawan was kind of like the more shocking one, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring this up now. So there was a deleted scene of Sophie Bellardi going through Christina's bag to find the idol. And here's a tweet from Sophie Bellardi this morning. Before Tribal, I actually went through Christina's bag and found her idol, which is why we flipped the vote to Jawan. But because those things look like keychains now, I wasn't sure what it was that I found. So they weren't going to vote for Jawan. It seems like they actually were going to vote for Steven. And I know a lot of people have been saying that Sage can win, Sage can win, Sage can win. But the fact that they were probably like, if you're going through the bag and you find Christina's idol and you flip your vote, it's not because you were going to vote for Sage, it's because you were probably going to vote for Steven. Christina's never going to play that idol for Sage. So if they flipped it from Steven to Jawan, to me, it says Jawan and Steven are the two threats. Christina and Sage, they're not really worried about beating them at the end.
Yeah, and I think that's really fair. I mean, I hadn't seen this, and okay, I don't know if you know, obviously, forgot something for you. I literally scroll through the social media, so I've been doing that today. Need to find that tweet. That would definitely be going on in our segment. But it makes sense, like, why they did that, and it kind of like, it helps us understand more how, like, smart of a move that was for that kind of foursome. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a couple of people might be underestimating Sage, but I also feel like with Sage, she's very much been against Savannah so much. And I do feel like that could be a knock on her social game, because she very much has kind of made it clear who she likes, who she doesn't, and that's how she's going to kind of pivot the game. So socially, she does fall into a lot of plot holes that really bring her winner contender down. Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I'm not saying Sage is the only one. There are definitely more players that I think other people are like, they've got potential. And I'm like, no. I think let's remember during management and social plays. No, they don't.
So let's bring this up then. Max Coop says, first, let's get the important one up. Happy Turkey Day to the hardest working podcaster we know. Bear down, Phil. I'm trying. I'm here. Savannah mocking Jawan killed her as a jury threat if she hadn't been already. What do you think about that comment? Because it seems, is that one of the people you're mentioning here is not having a chance?
Do you know, like, in a way, yes. I mean, first of all, that was so funny, just because obviously we knew what was going on. So it was like, Savannah, you are being such a shady person. But I lived for it. Again, I am that person. I will live for that. But from a jury standpoint, like, Jawan will sit there and be so annoyed. And I think he would have every right to be annoyed and turn around and be like, you mocked me. You have no chance of my vote. And Savannah would have to sit there and go, it's fair enough.
Mm-hmm. So, because a lot of people last night, so I had said last night that Savannah lost Jawan's vote. Now, I've been wrong about quite a few things on this season. I could be wrong about that. But I do think, like, when I said that, there were quite a few people worth playing for. I feel like Savannah totally does get Jawan's vote. I feel like this episode made me think Savannah had better odds. Jerry A, it's not going to piss Jawan off. He already forgave her before the final vote was read. He knew he got caught flipping on her and felt it was fair game. They both targeted each other. Okay. But here's my thing. When he gets to Ponderosa, here in the moment, right? You get knocked out of the game. You had the high of saying, I just blindsided her. This is awesome. Yeah. To the moment of realization of, oh shit, I'm done. And that stinks. And so when you watch that happen, you're in that moment, you're just worried about the adrenaline rush of, oh man, I just got voted out of Survivor. Yeah. You get to Ponderosa. And in my mind, it would be, wait, was Savannah making fun of me? Wait, was Savannah doing this? Yeah. And that's the thing, right? You don't always realize it in the moment. But if you're a type A type person who is constantly overthinking everything, if you're losing sleep at night because of every conversation you had when you were in second grade, yeah, exactly. I knew Ollie would agree with that because that's where I go. But like, if you're Jawan here, you can't go ask Savannah what's going on. And all you can do then is talk to people around you. And I would almost guarantee you that the people there are going to be like, yeah, Savannah was kind of like rubbing it in your face a little bit, huh? Yeah. Because they're all, I'm not going to say they're not gamers, but Nate and MC were put on the show to be more of just like likable people. And I don't think that they're going to look positively at that. Alex might not care, but I think the more Jawan sits with this, the less likely he is to vote for Savannah. And I do think if Rizo or Sophie Bellardi sit at Final Tribal Council next to Savannah, either one of them, he's going to vote for them over Savannah. He'd vote for Sage, and I think he'd vote for Steven. So I do think Savannah's just far down his pecking order.
Yeah, I agree. I think she is very much at the low end of his tone pole anyway. I will say, thinking about it more, I think a lot of people then forget that before the votes were even read, when Juwan was speaking and talking about his blind side, I'm sorry, everyone needs to remember his face and his facial expressions. He was being a little bit cocky.
Oh, yeah.
He was sat there being like, and I was like, you need to stop. Because I'd seen him do that a couple of times, and I thought, you should never come into Tribal Council cocky. So the fact that he had every now and again kind of been like, like in the big bravado, mate, if I'm in that Tribal Council and I'm looking at that, I'm not going to feel bad. So that's where it could come across as well, because Savannah could easily sit there and go, well, you were feeling very mighty confident that you were blindsiding me, so I was just giving it right back to you. And I feel like he could respect that. It depends on the ego, because definitely egos come into play.
Yeah, that's a good point, but here's where I find it weird. As he was saying all of that, Savannah was so animated. And yeah, she was so animated as if she already knew it was going to be her. And I'm surprised that didn't tip Juwan off more, because she has no poker face. There is zero poker face for Savannah. And so I am surprised that when she's having those big reactions, as he's saying, you're going to be likable, it's nothing personal, blah, blah, blah. I'm surprised that as she's reacting like that, he's not saying, wait, do you know what's going on? Because I feel like Savannah made it pretty clear that she knew something was up the entire time. Maybe Juwan just felt there's nothing she can do about it, but he knows about Rizzo's idol. So then I also thought it was weird after Rizzo played the fake idol and Juwan starts saying, bro, play the real one, play the real one. That's a bad look for Juwan on the way out, because I think it's very telling at that point that, wait, why would we need to play the real one unless you voted for Savannah? If you didn't vote for Savannah, I don't need to play the real one, Juwan. So why are you so concerned about this? So that was pretty interesting. A lot of a very weird but compelling Tribal Council, and I don't know where the cards have fallen at this point.
Yeah, I do feel like this was not a good Tribal Council for anyone. Like, I feel like everyone had a moment that maybe wasn't the best. Because it's like, I do feel like Rizzo did a really great job at playing the fake idol and obviously trying to gauge reactions. It was very Rachel Lemon coded. But then it was like when Juwan got voted out, and before Juwan could even say anything, like Rizzo standing up and speaking before him. And I kind of thought to myself, like, this ain't your moment, bro. I'm like, if I was Juwan, I'd sit there and be like, sit down. I'd be like, this is my time. I'm not giving you your time. You want this validation? No. I'm personally not giving it to you. So I feel like everyone kind of had a moment where it was like, and I don't think people realized it. And I don't think people are going to realize until maybe later on, or even at Final Tribal Council, when it's, you did this, and it really pissed me off.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of times people going to A versus the world, because that's like the one that people like to talk about. People talk about now when it's comparing Parvati to all of these other winners and stuff. And I'm like, well, Sandra beat Parvati at a Final Tribal. A lot of people say, well, after Heroes versus Villains, they all say they wish they would have voted for Parvati after they watched the game. Well, at the end of the day, you don't get to watch the edited version of the show before you cast your vote. So if you're Juwan, if you're Nate, if you're somebody else, you might sit there and be watching the show going, man, Savannah and Rizzo are playing a really good game. But in the moment, 7 days after this moment takes place, you might say, I don't like them. And part of the game is understanding that it doesn't matter what people feel about you 4 years from now. It doesn't matter what they feel about you 2 decades from now. It matters what they feel about you on day 26 of Survivor. That's when you need to get the votes. It doesn't matter later on. And so I feel like for Savannah and Rizzo, I'm not saying they're drawing dead. Savannah, I haven't seen it the entire season. I do feel like people are very skewed by 50. If she wins, good. We have not had a winner like Savannah. I am pumped about that. I think Rizzo has a better chance to win, but I think that Savannah and Rizzo right now, after last night's episode, it kind of is how I felt about Juwan and Sage after last week's episode. So 2
Mhm.
weeks ago, I said Juwan and Sage really missed an opportunity to vote out Rizzo. They had to do
Yeah.
it when it was a split tribal
Yeah.
council. Last week, I said, well, if they're not going to do it at this one, maybe they feel like they're working with him and they're not as concerned. And it's kind of like the Joe and Eva thing. I ended up being wrong about that, and they should have been concerned. But now I'm coming into this episode and I'm going, this could work for Rizzo and Savannah, but it could also completely blow up in their face and be the reason that they lose this season. And it could also be the reason why they get voted out soon and don't even make it to a final 3, because in the preview for next week, the 2 Sophies are saying, I want to get rid of them. I don't want Savannah and Rizzo to just run this game, which at this point at final 7, it's getting dangerously close.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. I feel like that we're now seeing the dynamic shift. Mm-hmm. And like we see that in the preview, which I'm hoping we do see a dynamic change. I think if they do manage to control the game, I think it's going to be a case of how they and get to final tribal council hypothetically. It will be a case of how they're able to come across. Because I do feel like with this jury, and if they are coming across quite like not caring, if they're able to acknowledge, like, yes, we did kind of, like, I did go out of line. Like, there were times that, I didn't think of the human element. Like, I could see people going, okay, I can respect that enough to then give them their vote because they've acknowledged it. Do I think there is a chance that one of them, and I'm not actually going to say who, because I think who I say people will be like, no, and I'll be like, just you wait. I feel like one of them will just buckle down and be like, no, you've got to give me the glory. I did all of this, And people are going to go, no, because it's egotistical. So I think that's what's going to come into play going into this final few stages. If Savannah and Rizzo do continue like getting the momentum and getting to the end and having all the power.
Yeah. I feel like next week is the moment. And I was saying this last night on our recap. I was saying that based on where this is going right now, they have the idol, and the extra vote is gone.
Yeah.
If you are Sophie Bellardi and you steal Rizzo's idol at this episode, you have a 4-3 advantage no matter what. Worst case scenario, because Steven's not voting with Savannah and Rizzo. Neither is Christina, and neither is Sage. So then if you add yourself to that, it's a 4-3 advantage, even if Sophie Segretti's not with you. So you steal his idol. You vote out either Rizzo or Savannah. You don't even have to play that idol. Now you're Sophie Bellardi at final 6 with an idol. That's the move right there. Because also, out of that alliance of 4 that you would then be a part of, you are the favorite. And it's really not close in my estimation. So I feel like this is the moment, but then again, we have seen people not take the shot on this season when they've had the moment. Last night felt like the first casualty of war, right? It had been a lot of, we might take the shot, we might not. MC going doesn't really hurt anything. Nate going doesn't hurt too much. And then Alex going is kind of whatever. Last night was, no, we have taken a shot. You now know who the best players in the game are. You know who you can't sit next to at Final Tribal Council. And I think Rizzo has elevated himself to that number 1 position as the guy you can't sit next to.
Yeah, I mean, it very much has taken the shot. It very much has hit, because everyone knew where the lines were, and it was deciding when to take the shot. And that side decided to take their shot. I am not on as big of a hype on Rizzo, but I feel like it's because I am looking more so at the editing, because I have noticed in the editing they keep even though they keep saying that obviously Savannah's the mean girl, like that has been a consistent thing. I've slowly started to see in the edit them, like, people they're always slipping in something negative about Rizzo, whether that's he's getting a bit too cocky with the idol. Jawad, why didn't you just play the idol? Like, what, like these little things that it's kind of like people are going to sit there and go, why did you need to do this extra stuff? Yeah. And I think that's what could hurt him. I do think right now he is very publicly in a great spot. It's just whether he's going to be able to talk his way into it. And that's where I'm not sure on.
So also, I just want to, there's a chat going on here about the idol. the wrong torch being grabbed, and Adam Skyline says, I don't know how to assess this episode until I know for sure it was eliminated tonight due to this torch stuff. It doesn't matter. Jawan is out of the game. Wow. That is what happened. Yeah, like it doesn't matter. They're going to give Rizo his torch back, and Jawan is going to go take his own. And that was the whole point of the storyline. That was just silly and goofy and whatever. Yeah. Let's bring up this comment here. This is Lehigh Valley Bears. I was at the Wendell and Bryce watch party. Bryce and Wendell, come on, man. Don't do that to Bryce. Wendell Bryce watch party last night, and the majority of people that I spoke to cannot stand the majority of the remaining cast and want to see Steven win the season. What do you think about that, Ollie?
First of all, I can understand. Love Steven. I act like he's on my draft, so I'm obviously automatically going to root for him. When it comes to everyone's hatred for the rest of the cast, get over yourselves. And I am a very big component of this. You literally, fans crave. They want villains. They want big moves. They want this like big show presented to you on a silver platter. And yet you're going, oh no, Minga, they're this, they're that. And I'm like, in the kindest way, F off. Like, stop being hypocritical, because as well, you're then going to berate those people online, and you're then no better than the people you're talking about. So it irks me to filth, because I'm just like, stop with your egotistical like hypocrisy.
Well, and it's exactly what I say all the time. If you're the person who says I want more villains, but then you're also the person who starts sending death threats or wants people fired from their jobs, or is saying this person's a shitty person publicly, that's why you're not getting villains, because people are now going on the show and they're too scared to do it. Look, Johnny Fairplay is a sociopath. I love Johnny Fairplay, but Johnny Fairplay has no problem going on the show and being an asshole. He loves playing the heel. He's doing his wrestling here at Boca Raton, and he's always the heel. That's what Johnny Fairplay is. And he's okay with that because he's a different era, right? I just had Troy Zan on the podcast this past week, and he made like a comment about Sari where it was like, you know, once you play with Sari, it's a little bit different. And like people are like, what is this asshole saying? Blah, blah. Troy Zan doesn't care. He's going to say his opinion no matter what. He doesn't care. But like, you can't becoming at Savannah and Rizo. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people where people are really down on Savannah and Rizo after last night. And I said, are you going to watch next week? Well, yeah, I want to see them get voted out. That's the point. So shut up and watch your TV show, and don't shame these real people in real life. Just be entertained by the fact that you want to watch them fail.
Yeah. And also, you have to remember, they are playing a game where $1 million is on the line. And they are going, there is part of them that is going to have that game face on. Now, I always say, judge people from when you meet them. Because, again, perfect example on Survivor Now podcast, which I go, by the way, like and subscribe.
There you go. Like Survivor Now, say it again.
Survivor Now podcast, like and subscribe. But we obviously have Bruce from 44 and 45 on the podcast. He does the after show. I berated Bruce when I did the recaps. I was literally like, Bruce can go away. Bruce is annoying. Bruce is not my cup of tea. I then got, and I mean, like Zaz has just said it, I always say this. Literally, I met, like, when me and Bruce first chatted, we got along. There was no beef, there was no issue. And he even joked, he was like, I know what you said about me. And I went, but I'm going to judge you now. I was like, because I'm meeting Bruce the person, not Bruce the player. And that's exactly how people need to be. Just because you don't like this person on the show does not mean that you can treat them worse as the person on their Instagram, on their socials, whatever. So like, you have to distinguish that. And I think that's what a lot of fans don't do. And I will also flip the coin. Do I think all the players do that? No. I do feel like the players in the game, there can be a heartless element that I think some people really overlook. And I think in that sense, I can understand then why people kind of go for them. But again, still, there is a line. And don't cross the line, people. Don't cross the damn line.
Well, and I think that's the best advice, because obviously now it's so easy to be involved in the Survivor community now. And I don't mean like easy as in, go start a podcast. But I'm just mean like, you can go to Bryce and Wendell events. You can go to Fair Play events. You can go to watch parties in major cities that are thrown by podcasters, that are thrown by just reality TV fans, right? It doesn't matter. It's so easy to meet these people. I always tell people, I'm like, look, Johnny Fairplay, if he'll carry around his belt and he'll do his thing like he did in Atlanta at the Ron Clark event. But at the end of the day, like, I haven't had a bad experience with Johnny Fairplay at all. I get him on a podcast. He's going to say some freaking shit that you're going to go, what the hell? But I haven't had a bad experience with him. That doesn't mean that maybe there aren't other people who have had a bad experience with him, but I haven't had one. And it's so easy. Like if I was watching during Pearl Islands and it was this era of Survivor, people would want Johnny Fairplay's head on a spike. Like it's crazy how much you would hate him. And so I agree with you. And the whole reason I feel like we got to this point is because you were mentioning the edit and what you're looking at and why you feel that some people can win and some people can't. When I look at Steven, this is going to sound mean to Steven, but I'm not being mean. I swear to God, I'm not being mean. But I think the reason why most people are rooting for Steven is because he is the most harmless out of everyone.
Yeah.
There's no negativity to Steven at all. But if we had a season of 18 Stevens, that's a bad season of Survivor. Just like it would be a bad season of Survivor, it was 18 Christinas and it was 18 Savannahs. You have to have a mix. Yes, but I think people right now are going, I'm tired of Christina whining and crying. Although last night, I think most people really felt for her. It was just, I'm tired of the whole challenge thing, passing out, whatever, Christina, whatever. I think people are over that. I think people are over Sage and her farting and her pooping and her being weird. I think people are over Savannah and Rizo for being mean, air quotes. I think people, I don't know why they wouldn't like the two Sophies, although Ollie, maybe you can dive into that a little bit. But I feel like with the two Sophies, maybe you just don't feel like you know them enough, or maybe you feel like they're whatever. But Steven is this guy where it's like, okay, Steven, you got Rotten Tomatoes, right? In UK, Will always brings up Rotten Tomatoes as an example. Yeah. Steven is that movie that gets a 98%, but it's a 3-star movie, where there's going to be better movies that have like an 85%, but they're a little bit more polarizing because there's people who are like, I don't see the artistic value, or I don't like that. Steven is your, woohoo, everybody likes Steven, but that doesn't mean Steven's the best. And I think that's where it's getting weird. It's like, we used to passionately root for Russell. We used to passionately root for Tony. We used to passionately root for Spencer versus Tony. And I think that's what's so cool. And Ollie made a face after all of those, but I think that's what's so awesome about Survivor. And I feel like most people now are just taking over, oh, let's go with like the most approachable person. Like, would I hang out with Steven? Sure. But I'm not rooting for Steven to win, right? If Steven wins, he's a good winner, but he's not my number one choice.
Like you made the very good point of, we don't want 18 Stevens. We don't want 18 Savannahs. We don't want 18 Sages. We don't want 18 like MCs, like Juwans, whatever. Because there is no dynamic. Because you then need that ebb and flow. You need all those different personalities to blend and create this really fun dynamic. And I think a lot of it stems from, obviously, like I said, they're on a show. Like, you just have to remember that this may not be their person in real life. Like, the perfect example for this season is Sophie S. I am not a Sophie S fan. Can't stand her. Can't stand her on my TV. But if I ever met her in real life, I wouldn't be judging her straight away. I wouldn't be sat there going, I'd sit there, I'd blank slate. Because I watched Sophie on TV. I haven't seen her in real life. I don't know her real life. So I would go in there and be like, right, let me get to know you as you, the person, not you, the player. And I think that's the distinction that really gets blurred sometimes. I say, unless your surname is Hans or Hans, however we say it, they are not a true villain in real life. Unless their surname is Hans, then you can be safe to sure that don't judge them off the TV show.
Were you watching Samoa live or no?
No.
The amount of hype around Russell Hanson. I mean, it's impossible to grasp it now. It really, truly is impossible to grasp it. If you weren't there in 2009 and 2010 when Russell Hantz played those back-to-back seasons, you truly don't understand what a phenomenon he was. I'm trying to even think of like an actor to compare it to, but I can't even think of one. You know how like sometimes there's actors where it's like they're so massive during their era and then they just totally die off and people don't talk about them anymore. Like everybody talks about Jack Nicholson, but maybe you're not talking about like other people from that same era. I feel like that's what Russell was. Like if you would have told people in 2009, 2010 that there was going to be a season 50, they would have been like, well, Russell Hantz is on it. So yeah. Anyway, Tatsuyama also says nobody rooted for Dan Spilo or John Rocker either. So, hey, there might be other people other than the last name Hantz. I don't want to get you in trouble here. So,
no, those two are very valid options as well. I can name quite a few more, actually.
So Adam Skyline says, Phil, what are your thoughts on Sophie S coming first and second in every single immunity challenge? She's putting her heart into this shit. It also helps that Rizo can't walk across a balance beam. I think if there was a challenge of tie your shoes, Rizo would lose because he still wouldn't have his shoes tied, and we're months after filming. But I want to bring up Sophie S because you said you're not really pulling for her. And I've been writing her off as no chance to win this season because she has the dreaded 0 confessional episode, which since Erica won, there has not been a winner with a 0 confessional episode to win the season. However, there is one thing that Erica and Sophie Segretti have in common that none of the other winners, and I'm not saying Sophie's a winner, but none of the other winners from 42 to 48 have. And that is the fact that neither one of them went to a pre-merge tribal council. So my thinking is, at this point, is there the potential that maybe Sophie Segretti wins this season, but there was nothing going on in that first portion of the season with her. Now, Steven has a confessional in every episode, so you could argue, well, they were on the same starting job. But Steven also went to numerous tribal councils in the pre-merge. She did not. And I'm gonna quiz you a little bit here, Ollie.
Oh,
okay. Who do you think, since the merge, so this is episode 7 through 10. This is only of the 7 people left in the game. Who do you think has the fewest confessionals? Now, this isn't confessional time. This is number of confessionals.
Number of confessionals.
Just in those 4 episodes.
Something tells me Sage. Sage or Christina?
Okay. Sophie Belardi.
Ooh.
She only has 16 during this stretch of episodes. Okay. So then, and I'm not going to quiz you on all of them, but I just wanted to quiz you on that so that I could see where people were a little bit off. After that, Rizo has 18. Okay. So barely above right there. Christina has 18. So the same amount as Rizo since the merge, which is crazy. Next is Steven. Steven has 20 in this stretch. And then it is Sophie Segretti with 21. Savannah has 23. Sage actually has the most, which is funny that it was your guess, but Sage has with 24. But my point is, since the merge happened, Sophie Segretti is one of the stars of the season. She was nothing early on. I love the hair thing. I love it. I love it. She was nothing early on, and now all of a sudden she's 2 confessionals behind Savannah now that they're actually in. And Savannah had a 13 confessional episode because she got to go on the mission. I just think that is pretty crazy considering where it started. And I wonder if we're just omitting her because her pre-merge was so bad, but she didn't do anything. She didn't have to do anything.
It's quite funny you mentioned Sophie's heart when it came to the challenges, because my opinion is when it comes to the game, she's heartless.
Okay.
And from the game aspect, I want to make that very clear. Again, like I said, if I met Sophie in real life, would not judge her on anything in the game. I think Sophie S's biggest obstacle is the fact that she's not compartmentalizing the game and the human element. Because we saw that quite a lot this episode. It was like, obviously, Christina was having her moment. And obviously, it's a sense of maybe you can't relate to it. That's absolutely fine. But I feel like there was a little bit of dismissal from Sophie S. And again, when it came to when other people were feeling down and out and other people were doing stuff, there was this heartless nature of, well, that's the game. It's the game. It's the game. And I thought to myself, go back to the pre-merge where you weren't in these alliances, you were being targeted, and you were frustrated and wanted to get people. Speaking hard,
you're good.
You wanted people to give you a chance, and you really wanted to get stuck in, and you were getting frustrated. And now you feel like you're in this position, this very pivotal position, and now it's the game. It's the game. It just feels very, and I'm trying to be nice about it, hypocritical. Because it was even like the preview. She says to Sage, I'm not going to apologize for a game decision. To me, you lose all jury management because you're taking away the human element that is still very pivotal in this stage. I think someone said it in the chat. I think it was Lynn Valley's Bears somewhere mentioned jury management, and I do feel like that is the biggest issue with Sophie S's game. Yeah. I don't think she's going to have the jury management because she's going to sit there and basically say to people, "It's the game. You need to get over it." If I was on the jury and she told me that, my middle finger would be up and I'd be like, congrats on not getting my vote. And I think that's her biggest issue. There is a lot of trying to take away the human element from the game. And I'm just like,
Yeah, and Lehigh Valley Bears says it boils down to who can get the jury votes, jury management. See, my thing is I kind of agree with you, but then I feel like Savannah falls into that same situation, right? I don't feel like Savannah's not going to apologize. Why would she? She's playing the game. And so I do feel like those two kind of fall into the same boat. I just think what I find fascinating about how this has gone is Sophie Segretti was the swing last night. Sophie Segretti is the reason why Jawan went home last night. Sage goes to Sophie and says, this is what's going on. And Sophie is the one who goes and tells Rizo and Savannah what's going on. Yeah. If Sophie's not with them, this is a 5-4 vote. Even if Savannah plays her extra vote, there was nothing they could do. But Sophie was so in with them, but also felt good enough with Sage. And I was talking about this on my Patreon episode this morning. There are people who will say, well, Sage made a wrong move and Sophie made the right move. Rizo and Savannah got lucky. No, Rizo and Savannah are playing such a good game that they have relationships with people that are stronger than what other people have. So when there is information that can put them at risk, they're getting that information. That's not luck. That's skill. Trust me, there's plenty of things in Survivor history that people aren't getting told that they should be getting told. Savannah and Rizo have the social capital with Sophie Segretti to make sure that they're going to get the information they need to ultimately send Jawan home. So I just can't believe Sophie Segretti's in the swing position. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, wait, if she is Erica, and if she is the person who doesn't go to tribal council in the pre-merge, look, even Queen Michelle Fitzgerald had a couple zeros back in Korong, so it can happen.
And I think it comes down to they've made this move. And again, I agree with you. I think Sophie S was in a really strong position last episode, and she was in this kind of swing position. It's then the damage control afterwards. That's what I'm going to be intrigued to see. What is she going to do to obviously repair some damages that she has, and then build on the relationship she does have. That's what's going to kind of propel her. But yeah, right now I'm not seeing the Sophie S hype, and that's absolutely okay. It's absolutely fine with me.
let me ask you this then. When it comes to Sage seems pissed at Sophie. Sophie's got to figure out the damage control afterwards. But what is Sage going to do? What she just lost her number one. Yeah. The idol that was in her alliance that she knew about is gone. She's in the minority, at least entering this episode. She's in the minority. Last week, entering last night's episode, she was in the majority. So she's in the minority entering next Wednesday night's episode. So even if she's super pissed at Sophie Segretti, she has to be more forgiving, I think, than Sophie has to be apologetic. Now, look, if Sophie wants to win the game, she's got to be apologetic. But in terms of what has to happen at Final 7, Sage needs to be more forgiving than Sophie needs to be apologetic, because if you don't get her back on your side, you're done.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to see that kind of next episode with Sage. And that might even be she has to have a little bit of humble pie and go to Savannah and Rizo and go, hey, I got duped just like I duped you. Let's see if this can be even, and let's have an open conversation, because I do feel like when it comes to Sage and Savannah, it's just the fact that they're saying, like, Sage is obviously feeling this way about Savannah. Does Savannah fully know? We're not sure. So if there can be this very open conversation of, here's my perception, here's your perception, let's have this talk, who knows what we could see? Yeah. But I feel like shenanigans are going to happen next week as well. So that's why I'm excited.
Well, and so if you're sitting here watching this, I did this with last week when it was Alexa was on, and it was Blake, Alexa, and I did the who can win, right? And I did this to Will and all that. So right now, and you're estimating, and I'm not saying who do you think will win. I'm asking the question of who do you think has a chance to win this game? I think there's a big misunderstanding between that, because I kept saying Jawan had a chance to win, but I kept saying Sophie Valerdi is who I think will win. But Jawan wasn't drawing as dead as I think a lot of the internet was saying. In your estimation, out of the final 7, who can still win the game?
I think who has a chance to win? I think Sage has a chance to win. I do think Stephen has a chance to win due to jury management and socially. I think Sophie B has a chance to win. I think Savannah has a chance to win. I'm not sure. I don't think Sophie S has a chance to win. I struggle to see if Christina has a chance to win. That could change. I'm on the fence with Rizzo. I don't know if he has a chance to win. I do feel like, and again, that's just from me, how I watch the show. I do see things where it's like it could be a knock-on against Rizzo. So I'm not going to say Rizzo has a chance to win just yet.
My thing is right now, I just feel like Christina is the only one that can't win. I really do. I feel like right now, I think the editors have done a very good job. And I think the thing that's really worked for the editors this season is they're telling two stories. They're telling the story of Survivor 49 and they're telling the story of why Rizzo and Savannah play Survivor 50. So they're telling two different stories, which I think is why maybe it's a little bit more evenly edited. And so when I sit here and I watch this, I say, with what Christina, look, maybe Christina would argue it differently. Maybe Christina would say, no, I'm there to play to win. What I am watching is Christina's not there to play to win. She wanted to quit last night. And look, I get it's the emotion. It's the missing your mom. It's this hard thing that you went through, all of that. But at the end of the day, she doesn't feel like she's playing to win in the same way that some of these other players are playing to win. She gets to the end. It doesn't matter what her story is. She's getting 0 votes. And I think that that's something that Survivor fans have a hard time understanding. Like when Adam Klein won Survivor, a lot of people said he got more votes because of the situation with his mom. No, Adam Klein was winning 10-0 no matter what. And they'll all tell you that. Brett LaBelle will tell you that, right? I think Ken is probably the only one who will disagree with that. Same thing with Jeremy Collins and Second Chance. He was always going to win 10-0. There was no doubt about it. He just had the added ammunition. Christina's not going to get votes because of this. Like people aren't on the show to give, they might love you as a person, right? But they're not going to give you votes. Most people like Troyzan more than they like Sarah Lacina. But guess what? They gave Sarah Lacina the money because they thought she played a better game of Survivor. And so Christina, I just do not see getting the votes. But everybody else, depending on how these last couple episodes shake out, I feel like still has a shot to win it. Because if I'm a filthy casual and I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this with my tub of popcorn and it's falling in my belly button and I don't know what's going on, who do I think is winning the season? I think I'm assuming it's Rizzo. Okay. But then you and I are sitting here going, it's probably Rizzo probably is like the 4th or 5th best chance. So where do we fall in the middle of that? Well, this is kind of what happened last season with Joe, right? Everybody thought it was going to be Joe. All the filthy casuals said Joe. And then it was like, okay, well, there's got to be somebody else who emerges. And Kyle started to emerge as that person. We haven't seen somebody emerge as the Kyle. And I know the comments will say, it's Savannah, it's Savannah, it's Savannah. It's so obvious. But it's not. If you did not know Savannah was on 50, I don't think any part of you would think Savannah can win. Now, there's no way for me to prove that, and there's no way for you to prove that you would think that if you didn't know. But it's like, if you didn't know Savannah was there, I would almost guarantee you if you asked a bunch of people who didn't know Savannah was on 50, can Savannah win this season? Most of them would say no. Yeah.
And again, I think you've made a great point on that. Like, the casual fans will say they're anything Rizzo, whereas we would sit there and kind of look at Savannah. I'd also look at Sophie B because I think Sophie B has really emerged. I do think right now Sophie B has the best chance. Sophie B has the best resume out of everyone. And I think the thing that she's doing right is no one's clocking it. No one's clocking that she's got this great resume. And I think that's another notch to her. Because like going back to Tribal Council, obviously like the start of it, when I said that everyone had something that was a knock against them, the only person that didn't really have a knock against them was Sophie B. Mm-hmm. Sophie B was the only one that kind of I saw go out of that Tribal Council with no blood on their hands. Like she was able to get rid of Juwan, and people are going to look at Sophie S more. People are going to look at Savannah more. People are going to look at Rizzo more. She's there. She's able to just stay there. And I think that's a really good credit to her game.
Yeah, and I know that she's had the fewest confessionals, like I said, since the merge and stuff, but it's also, there's bigger personalities that are doing more, right? Sage and Juwan are just bigger personalities at this point. Rizzo and Savannah are the bigger personalities in her own alliance. The first thing that truly worries me about Sophie B's winner potential is the fact that they cut out the scene of her. Like that was about to make the cut. They had edited it. It's the extra deleted scene. The fact that that was about to make it and they cut that has me a little concerned. But then again, we don't see her steal Christina's idol. So if she's not going to steal Christina's idol, maybe the editors just felt like this is complicating the story. This is too confusing for general audiences. Let's not put it in. Let's let other people go and watch it after. Yeah. That's maybe what I'm thinking, but I've been pretty much saying Sophie B is the favorite to win this season for the longest time. I was saying Jawan probably had the second best chance after that for a while, but I've also been saying Steven has a shot for a while too, because he's getting confessionals and stuff. He was getting screen time when there was literally no reason to give him screen time. So I still feel, I agree with you though. I think this is still Sophie B's game to lose. And right now she is the most powerful person in the game because she still has not told anybody about the fact that she has knowledge is power.
Yeah. I mean, when the two people you mentioned that's still in the game, Sophie B and Steven, you've got Sophie B that I kind of, if we're going to compare the edits, Sophie B has kind of a Rachel edit where it's like there are these subtle things that are happening that are really propelling her, and people are slowly like not realizing it, but could notice it just in that deep end. Steven, I feel like he's getting a very Kenzie edit. Love Kenzie, one of my favorite winners. We stand Kenzie in this household. He's getting a Kenzie edit in the sense of you always hear from him. He always gives a perspective on something, even if it maybe doesn't fully relate to him. We got that with Kenzie. Kenzie was always kind of there. She always got a confessional, even if it was just something. We always heard from her, and that's what we're getting with Steven. So I can understand why Steven has that potential. Everyone else, I don't see a natural like winner edit comparison, but I can still see the potential with some of them, like Savannah and Sage.
Yeah, I like that though. I think the Steven comparison there makes a lot of sense. My struggle is like Sage arguing at a final tribal council. I just don't know how she makes the argument in a compelling way that gets her the votes over everybody else. I think the other thing that's very important here. So back in season 42, Omar had gotten in, I forget what advantage he got. He got an advantage, whether it was knowledge is power, idol, something like that. He had gotten something and they never showed it to us. And he revealed it after the season ended and said, this is what happened. That could be the case with Sophie B's knowledge is power, right? Like if Sophie B wasn't going to use her knowledge is power, nobody else knows about it. And they could have easily just said, we're not going to put this in the edit. We don't even need it to be there. So I still feel like she's going to use that in some capacity. And now with Christina's idol out of the game, what does it matter? And Wazab says he got an idol nullifier with Jonathan. So he got an idol nullifier. So that could create the drama. Of course, you're going to put that you're going to show that in the edit because he's got an idol nullifier. Everybody else, there's people with idols. What kind of drama is that? But they didn't because it didn't play into the game. And I feel like now, if they're showing Sophie B and so much of her story is based around this knowledge is power and nobody else knowing about it, it's going to come to fruition at some point. And what would make more sense than Sophie B stealing Rizzo's idol and Rizzo going out in that fashion than bringing him back for 50 when he's done? Yeah. I mean, this guy has survived 4 tribal councils now without playing his idol. And if he were to go because his idol got stolen by one of his closest allies, holy shit. I mean, that writes itself.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it writes itself on the thing. And yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think the fact that we know that Sophie B has got this, something's going to happen with it. Whether or not she does use it correctly, or it's the kind of Marianne case where it's, I had this the entire time, didn't need to use it because of X, Y, and Z. Because to your point with Omar, there's actually an incident in Survivor UK. Matthew, the winner, found an advantage, and because it had no effect on the story, he allegedly he did pull it out at Final Tribal Council, but again, it made no difference to the storytelling of that season, so it was never showcased, but it was there. Yeah. And spoiler if you haven't watched Survivor UK, so sorry, bring it back.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if you haven't watched it at this point, you don't really care. So you're spoil away, right? But no, I think that that's going to be impactful, right? I think that that's going to be important. It still has to have some sort of relevance to the game, and maybe it is. I think that's a fair point. Maybe she does say that at the end, because we heard her tonight say, "I could steal Christina's idol," but why? Like, why? Now I'm making myself a target, and I think that is what's so important, right? It's the Alec Gabler strategy of pick your head up when you need to, put your head back down when you don't need to. And I think for Sophie Bellardi, she knows that when she takes her shot, she has to take her shot because her shot is probably going to be blowing up her game. I think Sophie Bellardi can beat anybody left in the game, But after last night, maybe Rizo can beat anybody left in the game. And now Sophie needs to get rid of him. She's let other people kind of decide where their threat level is going to be. And now she can make her move. And when she makes her move, again, if she pulls this off next week and steals the idol and then sends Rizo home and then gets the final 6 with an idol, you have one chance to get her out of the game before fire. Good luck. It doesn't matter if she sucks at challenges. Good luck.
Honestly, I absolutely love that. No, I'm now going to manifest that. Please, Sophie B, bring that in. Like, go for it. Yeah, you're completely right. Like, literally, all she has to do is take Rizzo's idol, get him out. All she needs to do is survive Final 5 Tribal, and she's good. And that even comes in the fact of if she could win an immunity, because you never know. So yeah, I think people are definitely underestimating Sophie B, and it's like I think us who definitely watch the show more and can understand the edit a bit more, we see that. Obviously, casual fans may not, but yeah, I completely agree.
And I think also what really helps Sophie B at this point, if she does get to the end, a lot of times pre-merge stuff doesn't ultimately help you at Final Tribal. The fact that Alex is on the jury and is the only other person who went through those first 6 days on the Blue Beach with her, he can pretty much tell them, like, no, you don't know how bad it was for us. And he can really sell that point in a way that, you know, if you have too many people from your starting tribe there, you're going to get a lot of different back and forth and who said what and whatever. So I do think that is a fair point. And this is where, when we're having these conversations, we're having this conversation now. I had my recap last night. I'm having fun talking about this season. And I think that this season, I know that the pre-merge was brutal, right? The pre-merge was tough. The Nicole boot was brutal. The Annie boot was brutal. The medevac with Jake was pretty tough. And then the boot of Jeremiah felt obvious. The Matt boot was brutal. And the Jason boot was so telegraphed, even though that was still a better episode. But I feel like the last 5 or 6 episodes, I've just been like, holy shit. Like, I'm excited for Wednesday night again. I'm enjoying it. And I feel like a lot of people are still really down on this season. And I don't really know why. And maybe it's just because it started slow and people aren't into it. But like, I am really thoroughly enjoying this, and I'm enjoying having conversations about it. And I don't know where it's going to go. And that's kind of my favorite part.
I think it has everything to do with the overshadow of 50. My personal take is again, like, we want to get hyped for 50. Absolutely. Like, makes all the sense. But I think in doing so, they have overshadowed the 49 lot. In the sense of all people are caring about now is, who are the people on 49? Because I think the perfect examples are heroes versus villains, game changers, whatever. Because you didn't know, and like fans versus favorites, you didn't know who from the previous season was going to be on fans versus favorites before the season aired. You didn't know that Russell Hance was going to be on heroes as villains before the season aired. So they were able to have their moment, whereas they've gone, here's the 50 cards before we've even shown you 49. And it's like, all people can look at is the 50 cast. And it's like, it has shadowed 49's viewing because people are just like, well, we don't care.
And it's like I said earlier, I understand that CBS didn't explicitly state who the two 49ers were. No. But you have to understand what your community is and who your community is. Your community is going to find out who those 49ers are. And like I said, I can't sit here and pretend I don't know, right? CBS doesn't pay me any money. I mean, I have a fine relationship with CBS, but I don't get paid any money where I have to sit here and be hush-hush about potential spoilers and stuff. Do I seek out real spoilers? Absolutely not. Do I know real spoilers? No, that's why I'm having fun with this season. But when it comes to who's on 50, to me, that's not a spoiler. I want to know who's on the cast. Like, sure. Yeah. And when you say there's going to be 2 people for 49 and that gets out there, and now everybody in our comments and stuff is going to say it, of course we're going to find out. There's no way we're not going to. So, of course, that's going to be part of the conversation. If you're making the show for the casuals, fine. And honestly, there are more of them than there are of superfans. That's fine. But you have to understand that the online community and the discourse around the show is going to know who's on there. And what I think is fascinating is it seems like last season with Joe and Eva, where people are disliking the season because they're assuming that something is going to happen that's not going to happen. And I said to people up and down last season, because they would be like, well, I don't like this season because it's obvious Joe's going to win. And I said, okay, but if Joe doesn't win, then do you like this season? Well, I don't know because Joe's going to win. Okay, but now how do those people feel about 48? Joe didn't win. You were disliking the show because you said it was obvious Joe was going to win. And that's how I feel here. A lot of people are saying, well, because it's 50, Savannah's not on the tribe of Kyle or D, so Savannah must win. Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. So I don't know. That's just, I don't know. I feel like people are getting angry and upset and just not enjoying something because of something they think is going to happen. Get mad about it when it does happen, right? Don't get mad about it beforehand. That's like psychology 101.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what people need to kind of remember. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. The only people that know that what's going to happen is everyone that was out there and all the editors. Like, they're the only real people that know. And don't let that spoil your viewing. Like, just try to enjoy the season as much as you can. Again, is it annoying that we know who the 50 players are? Yes. Mm-hmm. Does that mean we should just dismiss everyone else? No. Mm-hmm. Give everyone else a chance. Like, because there are people that I've really been excited to see. Sophie B, loved her. Steven, loved him. MC was loving her. So it's like, there are people that I'm like, just give them a chance, people. Yeah. Just give it a chance.
Or as Riding the Wire says, but I want to be mad. Hey, man. Well, sometimes
go be mad. Yeah. Go be mad. Honestly, go for it.
Yeah. Speaking of being mad as a Lions fan, I got 30 minutes until I go watch the Lions frustrate the hell out of me and ruin my Thanksgiving. So, Ollie, what do you have going on this season? What's going on over at Survivor Now? There it is. You finally put at Survivor Now podcast in there. I have your YouTube linked in the description here, so people can go find it there easily. But Ollie, what's going on?
Yeah, we always have a lot of stuff going on Survivor Now podcast. On Wednesdays, we normally do kind of a pre-show beforehand where we get hyped. There may have been a lovely Phil that joined us. And then we have an after show. We have Survivor Social that looks at the social dynamics. Stockwatch that does all of the power rankings. Got something for you that I do with Phil, which is on Sundays at 5 p.m. We just talk a lot of crap and then look at the social media because I am a nosy bugger and just want to see what all the players have been saying. So that's a fun time. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have some cool guests. Bruce from 44 and 45 is there. Abe from 41 is there. It's a grand old time. So yeah, Survivor Now podcast. Go like and subscribe. Thanks.
There you go, everybody. Yeah, if you want to listen to me name all the first boots for like, I think I went through like the first 25 seasons. I just kept going after a while. It was funny the other night. I think it was with Troy Zan where I started naming what the final tribal council vote total was. And I did that for like the first 10 seasons. And I was like, okay, I seriously do have problems here. I need to figure this out. But become a patron, patreon.com/a specialist. I just put out my after show earlier today. Q&A, rewind. We're getting into Fans versus Favorites 2 starting next Thursday. We're finishing up Philippines this week. So that's for Every Season Matters. That's our top tier. And if you get in now, half price off through the finale. So if you want to become a patron and you don't want to shell out $20 a month or $10 a month or $5 a month, whatever you want to do, you can go get half off for each tier up through the finale of Survivor 49. I will be live again on Sunday with Omer at 8 p.m. with predictions and power rankings. McKenna and John will be live tomorrow with Survivor Rewind. And McKenna and Kyle will be live tomorrow doing the Amazing Race recap. So we have a lot going on this weekend. Even though it's a holiday weekend, Survivor keeps on trucking. So thank you all so much for listening. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Ollie, thank you so much for joining me. Go enjoy your night now. We're just getting started here in the U.S., and I'm about to feast for the rest of the day. But appreciate having you on.
Thank you. Always a great time. Love it here at The Specialists.
Thank you. See you guys.